help me reach 1,000 subscribers. Please like the video and share your thoughts on the video. Your feedback helps make the contents better. Now let's get to the story.
My wife's voice cut through the dinner table chatter like a knife through butter. Apologize to my brother or get out of my house. Everyone froze. Forks stopped midway to mouths. Wine glasses hung, suspended in air. Even the dog under the table had the sense to stop begging for scraps. The silence was so thick you could have packaged it and sold it as insulation. Her brother Derek sat there with that smug little grin plastered across his face, the same one he'd been wearing since he accidentally spilled red wine all over my shirt and then proceeded to tell everyone at the table that I probably couldn't afford to replace it anyway. Real classy guy, that Derek. Before we continue, I want to take a moment to thank you for being here. If this story resonates with you, please subscribe and ring that bell. And for our friends in the US and the Philippines, we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Your voice truly matters to us, and it helps us grow and connect on a deeper level. My name is Marcus Webb. I'm 34 years old, and up until about 5 minutes ago, I thought I had a pretty decent life. I work as a financial analyst for a mid-sized investment firm. Nothing fancy, nothing that'll get me on Forbes, but it pays the bills and then some. I've been married to Rebecca for 6 years. We met at a coffee shop where she was reading some pretentious book about finding your inner goddess, and I made the mistake of thinking her eye roll at a particularly ridiculous passage meant she had a sense of humor. Turns out I was wrong about a lot of things. I stood up slowly, feeling every single pair of eyes in that dining room lock onto me. Rebecca's parents sat at the head of the table, her father looking uncomfortable, her mother wearing an expression that suggested she'd been waiting for this moment her entire life. Rebecca's sister, Amanda, was there with her husband, both of them suddenly very interested in their plates. And then there was Derek, 28 years old, never held a job for more than 6 months, living off a trust fund and his ability to manipulate everyone around him. This was supposed to be a nice family dinner. Rebecca had insisted we host it at our house, the house I'd bought with my savings before we got married, the house that she now apparently considered solely hers. Let me back up a bit and tell you how we got here. Derek had shown up an hour late, which was early for him by most standards. He'd waltzed in with some girl he'd met at the club the night before, a woman whose name he clearly didn't remember because he kept calling her Babe with increasing desperation. The girl didn't seem to notice or care, too busy taking selfies in our living room. Dinner started off fine. We had the usual small talk, the kind that makes you want to stab yourself in the eye with a salad fork just to feel something real. Rebecca's mom went on about her book club, her dad talked about golf, Amanda complained about her kids' school. Normal stuff. Then Derek started drinking. Now, Derek drinking wasn't unusual. Derek sober was unusual. But tonight he was on a mission. He knocked back 3 glasses of wine before the appetizers hit the table, and by the time we got to the main course, he was feeling chatty. "So, Marcus," he'd said, swirling his 4th glass of wine like he was some kind of sommelier instead of an overgrown frat boy, "Rebecca tells me your company's been having some trouble lately." I'd glanced at Rebecca, who suddenly found her chicken extremely fascinating. "We had a rough quarter," I said carefully, "but we're pulling through."
Rough quarter, Derek repeated, laughing. That's one way to put it. I heard they're doing layoffs. You worried? Derek, Rebecca's father said quietly, that's not appropriate dinner conversation. What? I'm just asking. Can a guy be concerned about his brother-in-law's employment status? Derek leaned back in his chair, that grin getting wider. I mean, somebody's got to keep my sister in the lifestyle she's accustomed to, right? That's when I should have known where this was heading. But I was stupid enough to think Rebecca would have my back. After all, we were married. We were supposed to be a team. We'd said vows and everything. The company's fine, I said, and even if it wasn't, I have plenty of options. Options? Derek snorted. Sure you do, buddy. Hey, you know what? If things get really bad, I could probably get you a job at the country club. They're always looking for caddies. Probably pays better than what you're making now anyway. The table went quiet. Rebecca's mom let out a little gasp that she tried to cover with a cough. Amanda looked like she wanted to crawl under the table. But Rebecca, my darling wife, said nothing. She just sat there, lips pressed together in a thin line, not rushing to my defense, not telling her brother to shut his mouth. "I'm not interested in being a caddy," I said, keeping my voice level, "but thanks for thinking of me." "Come on, don't be so sensitive," Derek said, reaching for the wine bottle. "I'm just messing with you. You know I love you, man, even if you did trick my sister into marrying someone so average." Average. That word hung in the air like a bad smell. I'd built a life for us. I'd worked 60-hour weeks to afford this house in a nice neighborhood with good schools for the kids we'd been planning to have. I'd scrimped and saved so Rebecca could quit her job as a receptionist and start her own interior design business, which consisted mainly of her rearranging our furniture and posting pictures on Instagram. I'd done everything I was supposed to do, everything society tells you makes you a good husband, a good man. And I was average. Derek kept going because of course he did. He told a story about his latest business venture, some cryptocurrency thing that was definitely going to make him millions. He talked about the yacht he was planning to buy, the vacation to Monaco he had coming up. He made sure everyone knew that while I was worrying about quarterly reports, he was living life to the fullest. And then came the wine incident. He'd been gesturing wildly, telling some story about a party in the Hamptons, when his hand slipped and sent a full glass of Cabernet cascading across the table and directly onto my white shirt. The red liquid spread across the fabric like blood. "Oh man, I'm so sorry," Derek said, not sounding sorry at all. "That was your good shirt, wasn't it? Well, I mean, your only good shirt, probably." Everyone laughed. Not loud, but enough. Those polite little chuckles that people make when they don't want to seem rude but also find something genuinely funny. Even Rebecca cracked a smile. That's when something inside me shifted. I'd stood up to go clean myself off, and Derek had kept talking. "You know, Marcus, maybe you should just keep a spare shirt in your car for emergencies. I mean, you can't afford to keep replacing clothes every time someone spills something on you. Actually, you know what? I'll buy you a new shirt. Early Christmas present. I'll get you something nice from Target." More laughter, louder this time. I was halfway to the bathroom when I heard Derek say to Rebecca, "I don't know how you put up with him, sis. You could have done so much better. Remember that guy you were dating before Marcus, the doctor? Now that was a catch." I stopped walking, turned around slowly, looked at Rebecca, waiting for her to say something, anything. Tell her brother he was being an ass, defend her husband, show even the tiniest bit of loyalty to the man she'd promised to love and cherish. Instead, she sighed, actually sighed, like Derek's behavior was somehow my fault for not taking the joke. "Derek, you're drunk," she finally said, but there was no heat in it. It was the kind of thing you say when you know you're supposed to say something, but don't really mean it. "I'm not that drunk," Derek protested. "I'm just saying what everyone's thinking. Marcus is a nice guy and all, but he's just so ordinary. No ambition, no drive. He's got a boring job, drives a boring car, lives a boring life. I mean, when's the last time you guys did anything exciting?" That's when I walked back to the table. My shirt was still stained red, and I probably looked ridiculous, but I didn't care anymore. I sat down in my chair and looked Derek right in the eye. "You're right," I said quietly. "I am ordinary. I don't have a trust fund. I don't take vacations to Monaco. I work for my money instead of having it handed to me by my parents. And you know what? I'm fine with that." Derek's grin faltered for just a second. "Whoa, somebody's sensitive." "But here's the thing, Derek," I continued. "At least I contribute something to the world. At least I earn what I have. What do you do besides spend other people's money and make an ass of yourself at family dinners?" The room went dead silent again. Rebecca's face turned white, then red. Her mother clutched her pearls, literally clutched them. Her father looked like he wanted to be anywhere else in the world. And Derek? Derek's face twisted into something ugly. "How dare you?" he hissed. "You don't talk to me like that, not in front of my family." "Your family?" I repeated. "This is my house." That's when Rebecca exploded. She slammed her hand down on the table hard enough to make the dishes rattle. "That is my brother you're insulting, my brother who has been nothing but kind to you since the day we met." I stared at her. "Kind? Rebecca, he just spent the last hour humiliating me." "He was joking. God, Marcus, you're so uptight. You can't take a joke, you can't have fun, you can't do anything except work and complain.
Maybe Derek's right. Maybe I could have done better. Those words hit me like a physical blow. 6 years of marriage, 6 years of working myself to the bone to give her everything she wanted, 6 years of putting up with her family's condescension and her brother's bullying, and this was what I got? Apologize to Derek, Rebecca said, her voice cold, right now. I looked around the table. Everyone was watching me, waiting to see what I'd do. Derek sat there with that smirk back on his face, confident that I'd back down, that I'd apologize like a good little husband, and we'd all go back to pretending everything was fine. And that's when Rebecca delivered her ultimatum. Apologize to my brother or get out of my house. So there I was, standing in my own dining room, stained shirt and all, facing a choice that shouldn't have been a choice at all. I looked at Derek, then at Rebecca, then back at Derek, and I smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. It was the kind of smile you make when you realize you've been playing a rigged game and you're finally ready to flip the table. I walked over to Derek slowly. He leaned back in his chair, that smirk still there, thinking he'd won, thinking I was about to grovel. I leaned down close enough that only he could hear me at first, then I spoke loud enough for everyone to hear. I know about the embezzlement. Derek's face went from smug to pale in about half a second. The smirk vanished like someone had wiped it off with a cloth. "What?" Rebecca said. "What are you talking about?" I straightened up, keeping my eyes on Derek. "Want to tell them, or should I?" "You don't know what you're talking about," Derek said, but his voice was going shaky. "Don't I?" I pulled out my phone. See, the funny thing about being a financial analyst is you learn to spot irregularities. And when your brother-in-law starts bragging about his cryptocurrency ventures and yacht shopping, you get curious. So I did a little digging. Derek started to stand up, but I put a hand on his shoulder and pushed him back down. Not hard, just firm enough to make a point. That trust fund, the one your parents set up for you, you've been draining it dry. But that's not the interesting part. The interesting part is where the money's actually going, because it's not going to cryptocurrency or business ventures, it's going to pay off gambling debts. Rebecca's mother gasped. Her father went rigid. "Marcus, what are you doing?" Rebecca hissed. "I'm not done," I said. "The gambling would be bad enough, but you made it worse, didn't you, Derek? When the debts got too big and the trust fund wasn't enough, you started taking money from other places, like your father's business account." "That's a lie," Derek said, but he wouldn't look at his father. "Is it? Because I have bank statements here that tell a different story. Transfers from Webb Industries to accounts in the Cayman Islands, accounts that trace back to you, about $400,000 over the last year." The room exploded. Rebecca's father stood up so fast his chair fell over. Her mother started crying. Amanda just sat there with her mouth open. "How did you—" Derek started. "How did I get your bank statements? Let's just say you shouldn't use your birthday as your password for everything. And maybe don't leave your laptop open when you're drunk at family dinners. You left it here last month, remember? I was very helpful, telling you I'd mail it to you."
Rebecca was staring at me like she'd never seen me before. "You went through his computer?" "I was protecting this family," I said, "which is more than I can say for any of you." Derek lunged at me. It was sloppy and uncoordinated, the move of someone who'd never been in a real fight in his life. I stepped aside easily and he crashed into the table, sending plates and glasses flying. "You son of a—" he started, but his father cut him off. "Shut up, Derek." The old man's voice was like iron. "Marcus, I need to see that evidence." I forwarded him everything right there. Emails, bank statements, transaction records. I'd spent 3 months compiling it all, waiting for the right moment. I'd known this day would come eventually. I just thought it would be my choice when it happened. Rebecca grabbed my arm. "Why didn't you tell me?" I pulled away from her. "When would I have told you, Rebecca? Between you complaining about how boring I am and taking your brother's side and everything? When exactly was I supposed to mention that your precious brother is a thief? We could have handled this privately. Like you handled things privately tonight? Like you defended me in front of your family? No, Rebecca, I'm done handling things privately. I'm done being the punching bag for your family. I'm done being average." Derek tried to make a run for it, but his father grabbed him. For an old man, he had a strong grip. "You're not going anywhere. We're going to the police tonight." "Dad, please," Derek whimpered. The smirk was long gone now.
I can explain. I can pay it back. With what? His father roared. You stolen from me, from your own family. Rebecca was crying now. Marcus, please, we can fix this. We can work this out. Work what out? Your brother's a criminal, and you just told me I should get out of your house. I didn't mean it. Yeah, you did. I grabbed my jacket from the back of my chair. And you know what? You were right. This is your house now. I'm out. You can't just leave, Rebecca said, panic creeping into her voice. Watch me. I headed for the door. Where are you going? I turned back one last time. Rebecca looked small suddenly, standing there in her designer dress with her perfect makeup running down her face. Derek was being held by his father, both of them yelling at each other. Rebecca's mother was having what looked like a panic attack. Amanda and her husband were trying to quietly slip out the back door. It was chaos. Beautiful, justified chaos. I'm going to a hotel, and tomorrow I'm calling my lawyer. This house, the one you just claimed is yours, it's in my name, bought with my money before we got married. No prenup means we split everything, but the house is mine, so you've got about 30 days to find somewhere else to live. Rebecca's face went white. You can't do that. I can, and I am. You wanted me gone? Congratulations, but I'm taking everything that's actually mine with me. I paused at the door. Oh, and Rebecca, that interior design business you've been building, the one I've been funding, I'll be canceling that credit card tomorrow. Time for you to see what it's like to be average. I walked out into the night air, leaving the sounds of shouting and crying behind me. My phone started ringing immediately. Rebecca, then her mother, then Amanda. I ignored them all. 3 months later, I'm sitting in my new apartment downtown. It's smaller than the house, but it's mine, really mine. No memories of failed dinner parties or family obligations, just me and my boring, average life. Derek's in jail awaiting trial for embezzlement and fraud. Turns out, once I opened that door, investigators found a lot more than even I had discovered. The gambling debts were just the tip of the iceberg. He'd been running scams for years, using his family name to con people out of money. Rebecca's parents lost almost everything. The business is bankrupt, the trust funds are gone, and they had to sell their house to pay for Derek's lawyers. They're living with Amanda now, which I'm sure is going great for everyone involved. As for Rebecca, last I heard, she moved back in with her parents at Amanda's place. The interior design business folded after about 2 weeks without my financial backing. Turns out, having nice furniture and an Instagram account doesn't actually make you a designer. She's working as a receptionist again. Full circle. She tried to fight me in the divorce, but it didn't go well for her. Turns out when you tell your husband to get out of your house in front of witnesses, and that house is actually in his name, you don't have much of a leg to stand on. Plus, her lawyer wasn't great. She had to go with a cheap one since her family was broke. I got the house, which I promptly sold for a nice profit, got most of my savings back since I could prove they came from before the marriage, and I got my life back. The funny part? I ran into Rebecca's mother at the grocery store last week. She didn't see me at first, and I watched her carefully comparing prices on pasta sauce, something I never thought I'd see from a woman who used to only buy organic and imported. When she finally noticed me, she went red in the face, started to say something, then stopped. What could she say? Sorry we treated you like garbage? Sorry we didn't believe you about Derek? Sorry we always thought you weren't good enough?
I just nodded at her and walked away. No drama, no confrontation, just a simple acknowledgement that we both existed and had nothing to say to each other. That's the thing about revenge. Everyone thinks it has to be this big, dramatic thing, like in the movies. But sometimes the best revenge is just walking away and letting people face the consequences of their own actions. I didn't destroy Rebecca's family. Derek did that. I just refused to go down with the ship. I'm not going to lie and say everything is perfect now. Some days I miss being married, miss having someone to come home to, but then I remember that ultimatum, that moment when my own wife told me to apologize or get out, and I remember why I left. I'm dating now. Nothing serious yet, but I met someone at a coffee shop last week. We talked about books and movies and didn't mention trust funds or family drama once. She laughed at my jokes and didn't call me boring. When I told her I was a financial analyst, she said that sounded interesting and asked questions about what I actually do. It was nice. Normal. average. And you know what? Average doesn't seem so bad anymore. My phone buzzes. It's a text from an unknown number, but I know who it is. Rebecca's been trying to reach me from different numbers since I blocked her main one. I'm sorry. Can we talk? I made a mistake. I delete it without responding. Some mistakes you don't come back from. Some bridges once burned should stay burned. And some people need to learn that loyalty isn't something you can demand, it's something you earn. I think about that dinner sometimes, about the look on Derek's face when I said those 5 words, "I know about the embezzlement." It was the best sentence I ever spoke. Better than "I do" at my wedding. Better than anything I'd said in 6 years of marriage. Because it was the moment I stopped being a doormat. The moment I stopped letting other people define my worth. The moment I realized that being average, being boring, being ordinary, none of that meant I had to accept being treated like garbage. My work phone rings. It's my boss. The company recovered from that rough quarter, and they're promoting me to senior analyst. Better pay, better hours, better respect. Apparently, I'm not so average after all. I answer the call with a smile. Life's pretty good these days. Boring, average, ordinary, and entirely mine. So, that's my story. That's how one sentence at a family dinner changed everything. Look, I'm not saying revenge is always the answer, but sometimes standing up for yourself is the only option you've got left. Sometimes you have to stop being the nice guy and start being the guy who knows his worth. If this story resonated with you, do me a favor. Drop a comment below and tell me where you're watching from. I'm curious to know if family drama is a universal language or if I just got especially unlucky. Maybe you've got your own story about standing up to someone who thought you'd never fight back. I'd love to hear it. And hey, if you enjoyed this, hit that like button and subscribe. I've got plenty more stories where this came from, some of them even crazier than mine, if you can believe it. Remember, being average doesn't mean you have to accept being treated like you're worthless. Know your worth, stand your ground, and never apologize for refusing to be someone's punching bag. Until next time, stay strong out there, and maybe think twice before you tell someone to get out of their own house. Drop that comment. Where are you watching from? Let's build a community of people who refused to stay down.